get started. And if
I'd like to remind everybody that Councilwoman Stacy said no personal attacks, and I would like to remind you that the correct form for personal attacks is my live stream. Thank you. If you got nothing nice to say, come find me.
Jesse. Yes, good evening, members of council.
Jesse Paris.
Jesse Paris.
Yes. Yes, Lord.
Can I be heard?
You're kind of breaking up there a little bit, Jesse, but yes.
What's going on?
Every meeting should start with Jesse Paris. Yay for Mondays.
Okay, I'm representing for Denver Homosexual Commitment for Social Change, as well as the Unity Party of Colorado and Mile High News.
He's running for mayor, y'all.
About the sweeps. These are sweeps that are occurring. These are not cleanups during a pandemic. These sweeps are going against the CDC guidelines. You're not supposed to be sweeping encampments during a pandemic, especially one of this magnitude. So there's been sweeps scheduled every week this month. This week there's going to be a sweep scheduled tomorrow on 19th and 18th. Following day on 21st, 22nd, Stout, Curtis, and Broadway. The sweeps need to stop. We need to house people. We have 26,000 luxury apartments in this town. There's no reason why anyone who deserves a house or wants a house does not house. I am because like the Fusion Studios. In addition to that, I would like to see safe outdoor spaces. I was at the demonstration a week ago for the safe outside spaces. And this needs to be a model that we implement throughout the city, in every single district, in every single area of town. If we're actually trying to do better, as we lied and said last year during the We Can Do Better campaign that was waged against the right to survive, which was the ballot initiative my organization ran, that was going to give basic human rights to people that are living on the streets. So Denver, we have a crisis. We need to deal with that crisis and not try to sweep it under the rug. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Greg Berzosa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg, and I'm a resident of Northeast Park Hill in District 8. I'm here this evening to give you a quick update on the city's housing crisis, imploring you all to show some urgency on the issue, given the lack of support Denverites are receiving during this unprecedented time. Since we last spoke, multiple large encampments were yet again swept to nowhere, and legal protocols were ignored in regard to giving residents the proper amount of notice. The icing on the cake this time is that they started putting up fencing in the middle of the night in order to prevent people from accessing the help they need in order to move their belongings. I'd like to ask you all how you would feel being woken up in the middle of the night and told you had to collect all of the possessions you could carry while whatever you left behind gets thrown into a dumpster. How would
That's basically how my husband gets us ready for vacation.
Anyone to build their lives back,
it's terrible.
And continue to force them to start over every month. We now have more than 50 encampments that volunteers have to travel between, providing the services that our city should be doing instead. During the budget hearings a few weeks ago, many questions regarding the cost of these sweeps went unanswered, and I'm wondering if you ever held them to account for the taxpayer money that gets wasted every time we fail to do the right thing and provide people with housing.
Where did they go?
This economic crisis is not going to get better anytime soon. CDC's federal eviction moratorium is currently being challenged in multiple courts, and in 11 short weeks, we'll be exactly where we were before it was put in place, with no protections keeping people housed. We now have visited over 700 addresses delivering information for how to apply for the moratorium, some of which were small businesses. In 11 short weeks, that number will likely have tripled. In 11 short weeks, temperatures will have dropped, flu season will be in full swing, and case numbers for COVID will likely be higher than we've experienced up to this point. It ultimately costs less to prepare for the worst now than it would be to continue to stay in a reactionary stance. Over the next few weeks, you'll all be voting on the mayor's budget. Please consider that an investment in housing and public health contributes more to our safety than anything the Denver Police Department is capable of when you reject that budget and make the cuts necessary to keep our most at-risk citizens safe during what will likely be the most memorable time of your respective careers. This weekend, I was a part of a panel with Denver INC when it came to talking about police reform, and Justin Cooper from the Denver Justice Project, if I can just quote him, said, "We have to define who we are going to be in this moment." City Council, when your children and grandchildren talk about what you did to keep people safe during the global pandemic, please be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Andrew.
Isn't that awful that we have to say this to white people, right?
Evening.
Like,
my name is
please
Andrew.
don't be a dick.
From 2012
if
to
for no other reason than to be on the right side of
living
history.
In Cameroon, a post-colonial nation in West Africa. I still keep in touch with some of my friends from those days, in particular a young man named Moses. He's a bright guy who watched his democracy collapse into full-blown totalitarianism by the age of 12, so sees things we don't. The other day he told me, "Andrew, there is no punishment that will stop a hungry man from stealing." Moses has seen a lot of poverty and a lot of punishment in Cameroon, so he really knows his stuff. And even though I was paying $1 a minute on the call, I still had to pause because this simple truth fatally undermines our entire conception of public safety in America. The goal of everyone here is public safety and the prevention of crime. We have a large budget to accomplish those goals. Are we spending it well? The Fraternal Order of Police has crime statistics that their union members generated to convince you that we are, but of course they do. Some 30% of our taxpayer resources at the onset of a recession demands a little bit more scrutiny than that. Turns out we have a lot of research on crime because we lock a lot of people up and have a lot of data. And these are the 4 primary causes of violent crime in the United States. 1, isolation. 2, family disruption. 3, loss of dignity. And 4, an inability to meet one's economic needs. Isolation, family disruption, loss of dignity, and inability to meet one's economic needs, those things are all features of our criminal justice system. The FOP wants you to spend some 30% of our municipal budget to put people in conditions that research shows is likely to make them commit more crimes. This isn't just about individuals. This has become the story of entire neighborhoods in Denver. And it's the solution that this city has happily funded for decades. We also know fun things. For example, it costs far less to provide people with basic needs than it does to pay a police force to lock them up in private prisons. See, punishment does not prevent crime.
I like this guy.
It perpetuates it. In America, we've spent decades pursuing a law and order model of public safety, even though it continues to fail us economically and socially. If we prioritize punishment over housing stability, food security, healthcare, mental health, and other necessary services, things that Jesse and Greg were both talking about, we are choosing to perpetuate crime. We are choosing to fund mass incarceration instead of prosperity. We don't need all these officers, and they don't need all these toys. We have a lot of money to prevent crime and promote public safety, so when you're deciding how to spend it, please choose to attack crime at the root by investing in the success of Denver's human capital. We promise to reward you with an inclusive economy, a strong tax base, and a clean bill of health on your eternal soul. Members of council, there is no punishment that will stop a hungry man from stealing, so don't let the FOP waste our money this year. We know how that turns out. Thanks.
Hell yeah! Woo! Andrew! Who is this?
Next
I'm looking
up,
this
we
guy up. I like
have
this guy a lot. Yeah, right?
Santiago
He's one of our people.
Armilio. And
Oof.
I know we've got a couple Zoom accounts that we have multiple people on. And so we'll go ahead and see if we can get Santiago Armilio up. All right, it's looking like Santiago might not be with one of the groups that we're going to have help us with that. And so we'll go ahead and move on to Daniel Walsh. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hello, my name is Daniel Walsh, and I'm the principal at Kepner Beacon Middle School. And I'm here to tell you that Southwest Denver needs additional youth service options. Over the past 5 years, I've witnessed too many of my students struggle as they leave middle school. I know students that have lost their way to drug use, petty criminal activity, and gang involvement. I know students that have lost their lives to gun violence. These are not hardened criminals. They're great kids. They're my kids. They're kids who smiled and engaged in school in their early preteen years and early teenage years. Sadly, too many kids in Southwest Denver turn to the streets for a sense of belonging and acceptance that they're not getting from their high schools. Despite these realities, I have also seen my former students thrive and excel when they have a positive individual or organization step up to fill that need for connection and belonging. I was born here in Westwood in 1981, and for nearly 40 years now, I have seen that this neighborhood is filled with talented and ambitious young people with vibrant personalities and limitless potential. And our community also has talented individuals and nonprofit organizations that are eager to step up and help serve our youth. They are ready to provide a positive and meaningful connection. The board must vote yes to approve a new youth center in Southwest Denver. I believe this Southwest Youth Center should be designed specifically to engage middle school and high school age students. Not all students can make their high school sports teams, but a youth center could potentially provide sports and clubs year round for students that do not make their teams. They could provide a fun and safe space for teenagers between the time school ends and when their parents get home, and also provide an opportunity for mentorships and apprenticeships in the arts. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Next up on the list, we have Ken. We have Ken K, but in the attendees, we believe it's Ken Noblock. And so, Ken, if you could please raise your hand and we'll get you promoted up into the queue. All right, thank you, Ken. All right, go ahead, Ken.
Just happened.
Thank you. Ken Noblock, resident of Athmar Park, president of the Neighborhood Association, and employee at Lifespan Local, which is a small nonprofit in Southwest Denver. I'm here to speak on the youth center proposed in Val Verde. Lifespan Local looked at 11 indicators on a child's well-being index. These provide insight into an individual's future. Things such as reading levels, poverty, crime rate, and unemployment rate. The results in Southwest Denver were pretty sad. But we don't need this research to show us that our kids and families are suffering. We just held a ceremony to honor our kids who were murdered a month ago in gang violence. District 4 police are running a social correlates program in Westwood. We found a complete overlay between crime and these exact same social, economic, and educational factors where people in Southwest Denver struggle. Now throw a pandemic on top of this, and the mental health issues that are going to rise in the community are going to last for years. Despite all of this, Southwest Denver has very few resources. Our youth need services for mental health, opportunities to be involved in art and culture, opportunities for job training, and simply safe spaces to hang out. But let's create this space. We have everyone lined up. We'll build the space together with residents, youth leaders, RNOs, elected officials, city agencies, and community leaders. Give us the space in Val Verde. We owe it to our youth. I encourage you to vote yes to approve a new youth center in Southwest Denver. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next up, we have Kelly Hong.
Hi, my name is Kelly Hong. I'm a junior at DSST College View. I will be talking about approving for the new youth center. I think a youth center would be incredibly important in this community. To many of the people, especially the youth who live here, support and resources are incredibly important. Having a youth center means providing support and resources, which could include job training, finding a job, resume support, support in education, a place to go after school, and so much more. The possibilities of what a youth center can provide for the youth is endless. I believe that it would really benefit the community to have a youth center. In addition, there are so many people who would love to have a place to help the youth of their community. Furthermore, the opportunities and resources that can come along with the youth center means opening a lot of doors for so much of the youth in this neighborhood. I believe that it is incredibly important to provide the youth with as many possibilities as we can to help them find support and resources, which would mean opening up a youth center. And personally, I would love to have a youth center in this community because I know that I would have loved to have all those resources while I was growing up and in the next year or so. And I would love to help the youth in my community as well. So I would love a place to have that. So please vote yes to approve the new youth center in Southwest Denver.
Thank you, Kelly. Next up, we have Aylin Castaneda. And we think Aylin might be with one of the groups. So Aylin Castaneda. All right, not seeing Aylin with them. Lalo G. All right. Oh, here we go. Camila.
I hope you do too.
Ukazetsky. I know I mispronounced that. Go ahead, Camila.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Camila Uzcategui, and as a Denver community member, I'm here to ask you to divest from policing and instead invest in the communities that are most in need. During this pandemic, I have seen family members and community members alike struggle like I've never seen before. From underemployment to lack of secure housing, it has been a true picture of the worst case scenario for many. This is all made worse by the fact that the Denver police has continuously targeted the most disenfranchised populations of our city. Yesterday, when I went grocery shopping, there was a family of 4 in the parking lot asking for help. The father was expertly playing the accordion, the mother was humbly accepting donations, and 2 elementary school-age girls were playing attentively nearby. When I interacted with them, their eyes looked grateful and ashamed. My heart was broken not only because of their material reality and that as an individual I couldn't do anything substantive about it, but because they were ashamed of asking for help. Nobody should feel shame for wanting to survive, and that is why I'm here. I'm here to implore you to take a look at where the budgetary priorities lie for the City Council. When we talk about defunding the police, we mean shifting massive spending on policing that does not keep us safe and reinvesting it in a shared vision of community safety that actually works. We mean providing this family with affordable housing. We mean creating good living wage jobs. We mean well-funded schools. And we mean access to health and human services to all people. Relative to other countries, the US only spends a tiny amount of money on the human services that keep our community safe and a huge amount of money on policing. I'm a scientist by trade, so I spend a lot of time looking at and interpreting data. The data shows that police don't really solve or prevent most of what is classified as criminal activity. Instead, they often escalate situations and operate primarily to threaten, surveil, and warehouse poor people, as well as Black and Brown communities. The data shows that the very people who most need safety often feel they cannot call the police because they know this would only worsen the situation, or the budget, or threaten their lives. The data shows that you could veto and amend the budget to cut the police and sheriff funding and put it into housing, healthcare, and public works for this family and many like them. Will you listen to the data? Thank you for your time.
No, they don't read or listen.
You.
Just
Next
that's
up,
why we have to show up, yell, and
Arlie
push.
A. All right. Not seeing Arlie pop up with either one of the community groups that we had on, and so Faith Tarrant. All right, we'll move on to Leo Alvarez. All right, go ahead, Leo.
Hello, everybody. How you all doing? All right. So I'm just here. It's an honor to be able to speak with you guys. I am 43 years old. I'm a native of Denver, Colorado. Originally born and raised in the north side of Denver, but did a lot of growing up in the southwest side of Denver. With that being said, since January, we've had 220 shootings with young adults, you know, getting their lives affected. Gentrification is real. You know, southwest of Denver is the land of milk and honey. And why I bring up gentrification, because some of our people cannot afford to live in some of their communities. So Southwest Denver being one of the cheapest, people are residing there. In addition to for ongoing discrepancies within other communities from Northeast to Mount Ballo to the east side, people have moved over to Southwest Denver. So what that has brought is an influx of individuals, which then brings a lot of hybrid opportunities where these gang subcultures are now calling a truce and joining each other for more geographical power, for human trafficking, for money laundering, gun exchange, and overall for the power and dominance of that territory. I always say if we always do what we've always done, we'll always be where we already been. This is an opportunity to make a change, to make a difference, and to provide purpose. Southwest Denver has historically been left out as certain entities, and we have the opportunity now to bring it in. I believe this building would be an awesome opportunity to be able to have some mental health services in there, to be able to have mentoring services in there, case management services, entrepreneurial services, to be able to help the youth not just be able to survive, but to strive, learn to unlearn, as well as be able to be healed through certain scenarios of traumatic entities that they've been addressed with and are experienced through their lifetime. So ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the phenomenal opportunity to be able to provide purpose and further opportunities for our youth. And I believe if we don't act here now, subcultures are redeveloping and developing and hybriding. And we have the perfect opportunity now to not only prevent, but to intervene and to curb this violence and to really bring the ability for each one of our youth to conserve their potentials, their innocence, their safety, and to thrive into what they need, want, deserve, and desire to get out of life with us adults, as city, as community, to be able to support that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Next up, we have Adriana Lopez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana Lopez, and I wanted to thank you for having me here today. I am participating in public comment because I would like to also express my support for Youth Center in Val Verde and also bring my voice to the table as a resident of Southwest Denver. As a kid, I have fond memories of the Val Verde neighborhood in Southwest Denver. My family has lived in the neighborhood for more than 60 years. In 2018, my grandma, who was a Stark community advocate in Denver, passed away, and I was given the opportunity to purchase her home in a quickly gentrifying neighborhood. As a kid, I remember going to Barnum Rec Center to swim during the summers because we didn't have anything like that in Val Verde. In recent years, I've been happy to see Flo Crit move into the neighborhood, and the school has really served as a beacon of hope. At the same time, I've been sad to see the bridge project that was formerly supported by the University of Denver shutter at Columbine Homes. Fast forward to 30 years later, and now as a newer member of the Val Verde Neighborhood Association board, our community does struggle with basic things like finding a simple meeting place to come together to address real-time issues. Providing something like a youth center in Southwest Denver will not only be a service to our kids, but to our families. While living in Val Verde now as an adult, it has become even more evident to me about the lack of investments in our neighborhood over time. In some parts of our neighborhood, we don't have sidewalks or even named parks. This spring, as you may or may not know, we had the highest rate of COVID hospitalizations in our neighborhood. And as most of us know, the uptick in violence this past summer. I am thankful for the community leaders who have given attention to this and who are working with us on our neighborhood board to address some of these challenges. And I am excited about the possibility of a youth center, and I thank each of you for your support in voting yes.
Okay, you guys need to be a lot nicer to my boyfriend. He's having a rough time, and I have more followers than he does, so we had to go buy some, okay? Lay off. Twitter's tough.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am an Athmar Park resident of 8 years and the program manager of the Athmar Park Active Living Coalition. The Active Living Coalition is a project of the Athmar Park Neighborhood Association. We're a nonprofit focused on making it safer and easier for all of our community members to walk, bike, roll, and access public transportation in our neighborhood. As a coalition, we work with many other Southwest-based nonprofits to advocate for community-based improvements and to implement programming to bring neighbors together and get people outside, activating our shared green spaces. Over our 3 years, we continually gather feedback from residents about what they want in their community. One recurring theme is that residents want spaces and activities for youth. We've heard from parents and youth themselves that in Athmar Park, not only is it challenging to walk and bike due to our lack of equitable infrastructure, but they have no destinations to walk or bike
sidewalks.
to.
Yeah. Yep,
I'm asking City Council to vote yes on funding a new youth center in Southwest Denver. As a nonprofit in Southwest Denver, the Athmar Park Active Living Coalition welcomes more opportunities for our youth and would be happy to be an active and supportive community partner for this future youth center. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Casey. And our last speaker tonight will be Cody Taffet.
Hello, my name is Cody Taffet. I've
never done this before, so I'm a little bit nervous, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all this evening.
We'll be gentle.
My peers have spoken so eloquently, as usual, about so many issues like the housing crisis, encampment sweeps, and all of the, I think, surprising ways so many folks are neglected in this city and the ways money is allotted by the city. And when you take a look at the budget, it's no secret what the city of Denver, like many cities in the United States, has decided to prioritize. And unfortunately, it's not education, it's not mental health services or housing, or any of the departments or services that one would typically associate with creating a better city for people to live in. Currently, the DPD enjoys more than a quarter of the city's total budget.
Check your DMs, babe.
6% to be exact, which represents the 4th largest share out of the 50 largest cities in the United States. Lately, I've been working and volunteering pretty heavily with the houseless and transient neighbors, offering folks some minor relief from their daily hardship, whether with a bottle of water or some food or even just a conversation where I look them in the eye and treat them like a human being, which unfortunately is pretty rare for them. And you have conversations with some of these folks and you come to realize that there are these little consequential moments in their life where things went awry, whether they had a loved one fall ill and became entrapped in medical-related debt, or whether they suffered serious depression and resorted to substances as a coping mechanism, whether they were looking for a sense of belonging, as someone rightly pointed out during this discussion. And you just can't help but wonder if there had been some sort of lifeline at those crucial moments in their lives, some sort of assistance, mental health services, some form of public housing, healthcare assistance. Many of these individuals wouldn't find themselves in the position they're in today. And sadly, the structures that failed to catch these folks as they fell through still exist today. And instead of offering them a lifeline or opportunity to catch up, we spend money on a police force which devotes a significant portion of its time and resources to essentially moving and sweeping encampments around the city and creating more anxieties for folks who, in a lot of ways, have already been traumatized. And so I'd like to conclude simply by reminding us all of the tremendous opportunity we have in front of us, especially as people who have been entrusted by the public to do something different, to do something meaningful with our limited time that we have as a public official, and something that could reverberate around the entire United States. And so I asked the council to amend the budget to move 50% of the current police funds toward mental health services and affordable housing so we can stop criminalizing folks who never got a fair shot to begin with, and offer people an opportunity to get back on their feet. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. That concludes our general public comment session. In times of social change, it's critical that members of the public have more opportunities to be heard by leaders at all level of government.
So you can give us a few.
Session will be held before the council meeting on Tuesday, October 20th. Want to make sure everybody knows it's going to be held on Tuesday next week because Monday the 19th is a city furlough day. Sign up begins at 12 noon on Friday, October 16th.
Are you furloughing the cops? Are they subject to that?
Look forward to hearing from you again. Please stay on this meeting.
Do you really look forward to hearing from me again, Stacey Gilmore? I'd love to chat with you.
After this quick 2-minute break for us to switch over. Please stay with us. Thanks.
They're so stupid. Hi. All right. I'm going to move this for now. And there you go.
Hi.
You can be unmuted. Hi. So this is say thank you and do that. Yeah, so you can say thank you and do this basically. So this is Elia Trucks, and she was locked out of public input, and I have a problem with that. So take it away. What was it you had to say?
Thank you, MK. Hello, my name is Elia Trucks. I am a resident of Denver and Arapahoe County, and I would have thanked the city council people for their attention.
You're a lot nicer than I recommended, Ben. You were so polite.
You yourselves have affirmed that racism is a public health crisis, but the decisions I have seen you make have not shown any real action toward ending the crisis. For example, the sweeps that have been targeting our community members who are experiencing homelessness have cost the taxpayers amount that DDPHE cannot even estimate and directly violate CDC recommendations. In regards to COVID-19, quote, Clearing encampments can cause people to disperse throughout the community and break connections with service providers. This increases the potential for infectious disease spread, end quote. What have you all done to speak out against these forcible removals? What have you done to protect the vulnerable people who live outside? Continue approving developments with affordable housing that matches Cherry Creek prices, meaning no one who needs affordable housing can actually live there?
Meeting of Monday, October 12th,
2020. Contract with Allied Universal Security.
Denver City Council. The second Monday of most Denver City Council celebration AIDS and
racial profiling. These are outgrowths of the main issue, the ballooning funding of Denver Police Department. The astronomical amount of money that we give to DPD in order for them to sweep vulnerable people, racially profile community members, and murder people when they feel threatened. The budget you all create is a moral document that shows what you value and who you value. The message we hear is, we value a police state more than the lives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color. The problem with DPD is not just about a few bad apples. The full idiom is, a few bad apples spoil the whole barrel. This is a systemic problem where the whole barrel is rotten. Right now, the entire system is culpable for the murders of people experiencing homelessness and mental health crises like Michael Marshall and Marvin Booker. They are culpable for the murder of 17-year-old Jesse Hernandez. You are culpable for funding their murders of Antonio Black Bear, Christopher Escobedo, and countless more. Do not renew the contract with Allied Universal Security. Put pressure on the collective bargaining and bring down their funding. $400 million could provide so many more resources for affordable housing, mental health support, public health, and community-driven programs in partnership with communities that are impacted by these issues, especially the Black residents who disproportionately suffer under our current system of white supremacy. You have had so many people tonight asking you to approve the new youth center in Southwest Denver, which seems like a much better use of money. If nothing changes, I will be the first person signed up to campaign against each and every one of your seats.
There you go. Hi. Hi. We gave you a great introduction.
I can't actually hear you guys.
That was amazing.
All right.
They can't hear each other because they don't know how to use technology. They can't use the Zoom. It's really kind of sad.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for making that statement. If anybody else has a statement to make, I just shared a link. I'm probably going to go ahead and just remove
follow me on all your
this.
social networks. DJ.
Thank you for letting me speak.
What I'm going to do is just run around here real quick and hit the play button on my track. I am in Larimer Square. It's beautiful today. I'll be performing today until 8:30. So give me 1 second. Right back.
Thank you, Elia. You're the best. That was a really great statement.
I gotta say, not many can do Erica.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate I've never loved you the first time I looked into them now, and you answered with a cute way of saying them now. They made me feel so happy. They made me feel so blue. I'm falling, no darling, in a great big way for you. My heart is jumping. Start something with them now. You'd better look out, pretty brown eyes, here you are. Sparkle, bubble, gonna get you in a whole lot of trouble.
You're amazing, Elia. Thank you.
Shout out to the city and county of Denver for holding down artists like myself. It has been a tremendous struggle due to COVID-19. I lost my entire entertainment business. I lost my home, had to downsize. It's been a struggle. And so opportunities like this help make sure that I can keep my lights on. So thank you guys so much for having me, girl. We're going to come in with a second verse. Ooh. You guys still hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. When I first spotted you, I looked into your eyes, and you have a certain little cute way of flirting with them there eyes. They made me feel so happy. They made me feel so low. I'm falling, in a great big way for you. My heart is jumping. It started something with them there eyes. You better look out, pretty brown eyes in your eyes. Sparkle. Gonna get you in a whole lot of trouble. I'm looking for the boy with the wistful eyes. See, I fell in love with them there eyes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, DJ Bella Scratch. It was amazing and wonderful, and we always forget the magic of live music. And
I can actually hear you now.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, we gave you all kinds of accolades from everything that you've done, and we just appreciate you, Bella, for hanging with us and staying strong during this time. And it's up to us to also all support and acknowledge our creative community and the work and the struggle that you're undergoing right now. And thank you for filling the beginning of this meeting with love, energy, and the beauty of your music. It definitely feeds our souls. And thank you and keep it up.
Does it feed your soul knowing that you're driving them out of business, like she said? How hard it's been y'all ain't doing a goddamn thing to make it better?
Bella's going to be out there performing until 8:30.
All
right. Get
Live
out
on
there.
Larimer, 14th and Larimer. Come check us out. We do a couple Mondays here a month. That's courtesy of Sandra Holman Watts, the owner of Live at Jack's, which unfortunately also closed permanently due to COVID-19. And even though we're all struggling out here, she has still been working hard with her connections and her networks to make sure that all of us still get to eat. So thank you so much.
Did you hear that, y'all? Doesn't that make you angry? None of these people should have to struggle. None of them.
Enjoy some live music and support our local artists.
Why don't you support our local artists?
Thanks.
All right. Welcome to the City Council meeting of Monday, October 12th, 2020. Council members, please mute your mics and rise as you are able to join Councilman Herndon as he leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Herndon. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Black?
Here.
Cedabaca?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Flynn?
Here.
Herndon?
Here.
Hines?
Here.
Is anyone going to acknowledge it's Indigenous Peoples Day, really?
Kinich?
Here.
Am I the only person doing it?
Here.
Not in the world. I mean, it's City Council right now.
Here. Sawyer?
Here.
Torres?
Here.
Madam President?
Here.
13 members present.
There are 13 members present. Council has a quorum. Approval of the minutes. Are there corrections to the minutes of October 5th? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved. Council announcements. Are there any announcements?
I'm a little perturbed too, and I just want to tell you what Candy told me right before we went live.
President. Two announcements. One, this Saturday, District 3 will be hosting an online forum about the group living zoning changes with Andrew Webb, Senior City Planner.
I can't decide if I will. We just have to talk over them because right now I don't have the technology. I would need two different screens, and I don't have that because my husband, whose job brings into health insurance, has that.
Our Facebook
so.
account. Or you can email our office at district3@denvergov.org.
She said to me there's nothing big on the agenda.
Today is
I said, wait, I thought Allied Security was supposed to be on for this vote.
Annual proclamation.
And she says,
for a land acknowledgement.
You know what? I'm just going to end this.
I will make it as an announcement.
Oh, thank you. A land acknowledgement.
My colleagues will support me as I enter this through a rulemaking change process in order to make this announcement a permanent part of our Monday night agenda. The Denver City Council honors and acknowledges the land on which we reside is the national territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. We
are thrilled that we stole it and we don't give a shit. And we have zero intention of paying reparations. We have zero intention of ensuring clean water or safety. We have zero intention of doing anything other than speaking about things because we don't really give a shit. We recognize we stole the land and we're kind of proud of ourselves for it too. So help us God.
Continue to enact exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. May this acknowledgement
We're not going to erase the people. We're going to acknowledge the people while we continue to systematically eliminate them from existence, wiping them out with our police force, stealing their resources, making their life incredibly difficult, and letting people sing for us while they tell us how poor they are because we've done absolutely nothing to respond to this global pandemic.
Doing this and look forward to having support of our council colleagues to make that rule change.
You know what? I can come back in later and listen to this shit. Right now, I don't have it right now. I'm like, so this is what Candy said to me. Thank you, by the way. You want to introduce yourself before I start tearing into what's going on?
Hi, my name is Jeff, concerned citizen. I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So what councilperson Sadabaka said to me, they didn't put the Allied Security contract on for its vote. Not sure if they pulled it back to rethink or to destabilize us. Checking to see in the background if they filed it for another week. And then I haven't heard back on that one yet. So I'm like, destabilizing a white woman is, I don't know in your experience, but generally that tends to be like a really bad idea. I don't know. So I kind of look forward to being destabilized so that I can remind them that I am the manager. The K stands for Karen. And by the way, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
Not you, them. Sorry. Metaphorical.
Well, so did they move the vote to next week?
We don't know.
Or what did they do with the $25 million vote for Allied's new contract? What did they do with it?
So they just haven't told us when it's going to be yet. It'll have to be in a Monday night session. They just didn't put it on for this Monday night, which is unusual because usually they do things and then they want it on right away before a lot of time has passed. We heard what we needed to hear. Representation happened in committee. There was no request. And at the end of that meeting, that boring, terrible meeting, everyone voted A, not to say they agreed with it, but I was to agree that discussion was over and it was ready to be put up for a vote. And then they didn't put it on the agenda.
Yeah, that doesn't seem that's like, what's that called? Oh yeah, corruption. Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Somebody's in on the Allied Universal Securities. It's a relationship where these contracts are handshakes behind the back. As you know, I've been working on the Justice for Rivero campaign, and $40 million to Allied Universal Security Services. Within a year, this contract is renewed after they attacked Rivero Stinnett and nearly killed him. And they've got over 150 cases all over the country that are just like that. And you know that our unhoused neighbors are the ones who experience these same incidents that go untold because they happen, in the middle of the night, and they have no one to protect them and no one to go to, no one to turn to. So, and then we wonder why people, so many people out on the streets wind up, losing their lives during this time, whether it is, cold outdoors and they're rejected, or if it is at the hands of violent brutality from these contracted security companies.
Perfectly stated. Sorry, I'm going back and forth with Candy. Like, when is it on we don't have it. It's not on the agenda for next week. Which is not to say it isn't, it won't be on there, but it is not on there yet.
Okay.
And
they're basically, we got to mobilize, and we got to get some folks. Yeah, we got to mobilize.
We got to mobilize and we got to start pushing. So I don't know if you've heard, but for the next 3 nights, well, not tomorrow, there's sweeps in the morning. And since these people have nowhere to go and city council is doing fuck all about it, sorry for my language. That's just my interpretation of what they do. They're going to be
You're in great company.
Denver Homeless Out Loud is coordinating a sleep-in at the city and county building. And I'm excited to say that Wall of Moms is going to be providing the food for breakfast and dinners.
Okay.
So we'll be there on Wednesday from, I think the food's supposed to arrive at 5 o'clock. And that is when I'm really going to start yelling and streaming and amplifying all the voices around me. And just say, like, hey, this thing that we're doing right now for our neighbors is what you need to be doing for our neighbors with the tax dollars. We pay taxes as an investment in the society we choose to live in, and you are misappropriating our funds. That will stop.
Absolutely.
We're just going to facilitate camping here until you give them a place to go. And we're going to keep yelling until you recognize that letting, no matter how talented Bella Scratch just performed, and she's absolutely breathtaking, but the audacity to bring her on without addressing the economic circumstances she's facing right now as a performer, the lack of affordable housing, the lack of affordable healthcare in the middle of a global pandemic that has shut down businesses and made it possible for people like her to earn a living, that they have done absolutely nothing to support her, to bring her on and let her dance felt kind of more like a minstrel show. And we know, I mean, you don't need to even be awake. We're not even trying to get to woke, like that's a destination, but like we ain't even there. Everybody and their mother knows minstrel's not what you do. You don't put on blackface. That was gross. I love her. Bella Scratch deserves better than that.
Well, I certainly appreciate your willingness to be on the front lines with the Wall of Moms down at the protest with D-Hole. It is something that is vital, and it is something that is necessary in order for us to garner the level of awareness and support that is necessary for us to make a change in this very challenging issue. There are plenty of folks who want to be involved, who are not willing to make such a consequential a step in putting themselves in the fight. But I just want to let them know that they can email their city council person. They can phone call their city council person. They can plug into these meetings. They can do so much more to engage in the dialogue, to stay in the dialogue. While you're out there on the streets, they need to be on the airwaves. So we need to, you don't feel like you're powerless and you can't do anything if you can't be down there at the encampment. We understand that, but people need to use their voice. You need to speak. You need to step up any way you can possibly. Please do that, because the Wall of Moms needs you. You need to echo their sentiment in the street. You need to echo that on the airwaves. You need to stay engaged in the process. This is the problem. This is how we get here, is because what we do is we'll go to the ballot box during election season and vote. But once we do that, we let go and we walk away and we turn our backs and we pretend like, oh, that's all that we have to do to ensure that city council is being held accountable. No, you have to hold their feet to the fire.
Yes. And it's fun. I don't know about you, but for me, this is my weekly release. I mean, I have clients, I have small children, 4 under 8 and twins. So I don't get to tell that many people to fuck off with a straight face. There are, even as a white woman, there are consequences for that, personally and professionally. And I have to bottle it up a lot more frequently than I would like. And really, this is time that I paid for. It's not a courtesy, public input. I paid for it. I paid each of them $125,000 a year, and they can't do their jobs without input for us. So really, it's my civic duty to go be as loud as humanly possible and make sure that there is no doubt in their mind, if I vote this way, what would MK say? They know, and they need to know. You owe it to them and to your neighbors to make sure that they know your opinions as well. And I believe that. And if you don't feel like you're heard, come sit next to me. We will amplify that voice. Because the thing about Walla Moms is that we are there to serve, protect, and amplify. We're not organizers. We corral. We like to think of ourselves as a mutual aid society to help corral the followers. So not every person has a platform or can commit to being at city council all the time. And you know what? I can. I got hella privilege. I've spent 42 years accumulating the social capital required to be able to do the shit that I do. And it's kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know about you, but it's Monday night. Carrie Joy and I sit there, we're like, man, Hines is annoying. Where are you streaming from? I can't find you. God, he looks a little unkempt. Do you think Flynn with his racist face actually has COVID? And I respond with like, no, it looks like he got a blowy right before coming in, and he doesn't really know what to do about it because that face is really red. So I don't get to say things like this in other places, and there's just nothing they can do because they're elected officials. So that's power.
Yeah.
Talking, nobody can talk back, and you're a parent, right?
I am a parent. Absolutely. Yeah. And what's that?
They always talk back.
Oh man, ain't that the truth? Well, I certainly agree with you that, you know, we're kind of in the advocacy business ourselves, from allies to abolitionists. From allies to abolitionists is meant to beat the drum. At the end of the day, we're storytellers. It's a project. It's the social justice project of Emancipation Theater. And Emancipation Theater's, you know, basically based on the very, you know, purpose that storytelling amplifies us. Yes. You know, it's the gateway drug to empathy. Storytelling is what we do. You know, we believe when it amplifies us, then it turns the volume down on the not us. It turns the volume down on the us against them. It turns the volume down on the so-called other, and it amplifies the us. And we need to understand that in order to, once you hear a man's story, then you can't deny him. Like Rivero Stinnett. I mean, you know, people hear, you know, about Elijah McClain, and they should hear about Elijah McClain. And I'm not knocking anybody who is beating that drum, because I am Elijah McClain. Yes. People should talk about Breonna Taylor. I am Breonna. You know, I am Ahmaud. You know, I am Sandra. You know, but I am Rivero. And Rivero Stinnett on April 20th in 2018 was harassed and brutalized by Allied Universal Security Services. And there was 3 out of 4 officers who pled guilty to his assault. He was left with permanent brain damage, and 2 years later, Allied has done nothing, and RTD has written them a check for $40 million a year after the fact, a year after they knew what happened to him. What is going on in our city? If the well-being and the health and the safety of the citizens is less important than this big corporation, one of the largest security companies in the world, what do they have that we would rather give them $40 million than to pay a man that you took that you permanently damaged his brain? Mm-hmm. And then here we are with city council with another $25 million on the table for the same company. What kind of sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense. Something is awry.
I'm so sorry. I mean, it makes it all the more grotesque when you like the meeting on Tuesday, where we found out that not only that, they have also issued a gag order so that Rivera Stinnett cannot even tell his story. So we're writing a check to someone who brutalized one of our citizens and continues to silence them. How is that okay?
And then tries to silence them. Who's in on the take? This ain't government, it's gangster shit. Who's in on the take? I've seen this before. You know, I've seen this before. Peace to Carrie Joy. Thanks for the shout out.
We love you, Carrie Joy.
Yeah, Carrie, you know, is a soldier in this movement. And, you know, we need more folks like Carrie Joy to use their voice, to use their talent, to use their gifts, to amplify these streets, to amplify these stories. The more we do that, you know, folks can't deny. And then the whole thing with the colors and the black and white, then that stuff goes away because empathy shows up. And we got an us on our hands. And that's the problem, is they don't want an us. They don't want us working together. They don't want us understanding that we are in the same fight. They want us pitted against one another. So the sooner we understand that the same person, you know, that is oppressing you and rejecting you and restricting you and trying to regulate your body is the same person trying to regulate my body. You know, if we can get beyond these simple, if we can get beyond these arbitrary, artificial lines of division and understand that, hey, Rivero's fight is your fight. Rivero's fight is no different than Breonna's fight. You know, the fact that Rivera Stinnett is alive, we should be absolutely standing up for him. And I'll tell you what, you know, good things are going on. You know, RTD's got a new GM. And that new GM, you know, is somebody who's brand new. This is our opportunity to hold her feet to the fire, you know? So we've got to do what we've got to do, but most of all, we got to stay engaged, stay in the dialogue, stay in the fight.
100%. And it never gets old, at least to me. That bit of delight that I get when I show up in a space and people are like, oh shit. And I love that. And that's what happens. Like at that, we did an RTD call with Chantel Williams, I think a month ago. And then she spoke to us a little bit afterwards. And we shut it down. They did not have a large enough Zoom contract to handle all 300 people. They couldn't even get all the speakers on the call because they showed up 10 minutes late and the call was already full. And with a wait list, and we were live streaming everywhere. They were so flustered. It took them 45 minutes just to begin, which meant that we were all up way too late. But you could tell it was the first time anything like this had ever happened to them. I'm like, yes, show up to the RTD meeting and demand to make a comment. Yes, show up on the Tuesday afternoon meeting. Yeah, they're terrible. They're boring. They're absolutely boring. But you know what? I did that the other day, and I got to brag a little bit, bro, Jeff. I tell you, I got candy all to myself all day long. It was kind of glorious. I got one-on-one time all day long with Candy there, and I got to sit in a chair at the council. I felt like a kid. It was so much fun.
Well, that's why it's not on the agenda today. That's why they moved it off the agenda, is because of how y'all showed up. See, don't think for a second that they're not playing games.
Oh, I know.
They're absolutely playing games. And by the way, I'm not Brother Jeff. I'm the other Jeff.
The other.
Sorry. Yeah, so no, you're fine.
I know you're not that Brother Jeff. I apologize that up.
Okay, no. It's cool.
Everyone's brother or sister, and it's
yeah, that's you know, that's like a sacred name. You can't really say that in Denver, you know, not in the East Side. You can't put that on no other man than Brother Jeff Farrar, for real. Because if you do that, shoot, you get me hurt out here, protest mom.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen.
Okay.
Let them come instead. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's my man. You know, that's my man, 50 grand. I mean, that is where I learned activism 101. It was working under Brother Jeff Farrar, under his guidance, you know, volunteering for years, you know, and I had a office in his building, and I was mentored by him, you know, in movement work. This is where I, you know, all of everything that I learned, grassroots 101, grassroots organizing 101, I learned from Brother Jeff. So that's
spent the day with your wife, Carrie. It was amazing. I live streamed the whole thing. So you know what surprised me?
Oh yeah, they're the power couple. They're the Denver royal family.
And there is some truth there, because I have said on my very first stream with Carrie Joy, we were so bored in this horrible meeting before the pickleball comment came up that we probably forgot that I think that this was like a public thing. And she mentioned that they were thinking of having a baby. And I have gotten more responses to that comment with people saying, "Oh, bring on 2021. We finally have something to look forward to." More of Carrie and Candy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now. Oh my gosh. So how did you become
brilliant human beings?
Sorry, they are. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Candy mentored my son when she was at Denver Voice. So yeah, I mean Project Voice. I'm sorry, Project Voice. So Candy is that's a power couple. That's the power couple,
Mm-hmm.
So for real. But thank you so much for inviting me to kick it with you and to get to know you and to talk to you and for you to share your story and for me to share my story. Because it's important that we look across the lines and look and see where the solidarity lies and find ways to coalesce and get the momentum of this movement moving in the right direction. So I definitely value and appreciate you making space in your time for me to be with you today.
I got nothing but space and time for all y'all. I mean it. I love what you do. I love what you stand for. I love that you're keeping, his name alive in this issue, because it's so easy. There are so many victims that are reduced to a hashtag, and it's just impossible for any one organization to keep up with. And I hear the frequent criticism of Denver, like it's such a fractured community. And I'm like, well, there are too many victims. Like you can't. How do you choose? If you were Black Lives Matter, how would you choose? We're going to support Elijah, but not William DuBose. Well, Alexis Mendez Perez, he doesn't quite fit. That's just a Sophie's choice, and that no one should have to make. There's just so much that rather even focusing on the victims at this point, I just want to, and that's privilege being able to say that. I just want to smash things down and then get to it, because once we've done that and the threat's done, we can start working towards restitution. Not that we.
Well, I tell you what, we somehow figured out how to get cannabis legal.
I know, right?
We somehow figured out how to organize, lobby, get the money behind it, advocate on behalf of it, show, samples, do research and data, and present it to people. And something that I thought might never, something I've been to jail for, that I thought, I never would see change. We have a new world and a new reality around that. So the fact that there was so much interest and so much engagement around the issue is the reason why it changed. So, America is still malleable, but people are so tuned out and divided. And you're absolutely right. Denver's infamous for being a very segregated city. We just, we're in a generation where we don't know our neighbors because we don't trust our neighbors. And we don't believe that our neighbors would have our common interests or our best interests at heart. And, time is running out, because very soon, time is running out. The leaves are changing colors, the temperature is going to drop 20 degrees. And these oppressive, horrible corporations that the city has outsourced the liability of law enforcement and law and abiding by the law to these big corporations that are not required to wear body cams. They're not required to have dash cams. The things that they can do behind closed doors and do behind closed doors. Very soon, we will be continuing to count bodies, and we're already counting bodies. But, in the social climate that we're in right now, it just doesn't make sense to sit back. You've got to get involved. You've got to use your voice. You can email, you can send phone calls, we can do mass texting. If you can get down there and protest with the wall of moms, get down there. We need a wall of dads. We need a wall of cousins. We need a wall of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. We need walls, of protection, of respect, of strategic, authentic, reciprocal relationships, not just these relationships of peripheral. Oh, I want you to vote for who I want you to vote for. Not those peripheral ally relationships. We need abolitionist relationships. You got to get in the way. You got to be willing to disrupt. You got to be willing to put yourself on the line. You got to cross the bridge of consequence. Black folks and people of color are inconsequential to white folks, but our upward mobility, our ascension through the corporate ladder, our way out of jail, our way into the boardrooms is predicated on our proximity to white folks. There's just no getting around it. We can pretend like that ain't the truth, but that's the truth. So white folks, it is time for you to come down the mountain of relationship and cross the bridge of consequence. My life has to be dependent on yours, and yours has to be dependent on mine. It has to be reciprocal, or it won't be real. It has to be authentic, or it won't work. So it's go time.
It's go time. I loved it. Amen.
Insane. Okay. I didn't come here to preach today.
But sometimes if you
sometimes, I'm just passionate.
I respect that. I'm passionate too. But that's usually coded language. They throw it to me when I'm being really loud. She's very
respect that.
Passionate. She has these strong opinions.
Yeah, that's what I used it for.
I think it's her hormones. But that's what they say when you're a woman. So
is that what they, yeah.
I used to think that I was being dismissed. And then I realized, wow, that's actually kind of powerful. Because you see, my husband is an oil executive. And so anything I do is not going to be heard. So if you aren't going to listen no matter what I do, there's this idea that men have, and I don't know if you ever get this from white men, but it's like, if I ignore you, you'll stop talking. And it's something parents do too. And I'm like, if you ignore me, I've actually got no incentive to ever stop talking. It's going to be amazing. I'm not talking to you anyway.
Right.
So with that, you can tell, like, to read you a letter I happen to see on my husband's computer, because we share an office now and nothing is sacred. I don't know if you've been married, but what's yours is mine, motherfucker, is exactly, I think that was in our wedding vows. Being married to me is the most amazing experience ever. But I'm looking right now at an email that some of the CEOs of some of the largest Denver-based oil and natural gas companies, by the way, they're not that big. Just want you to know, the biggest companies, it's like I got daddy's money and we couldn't funnel any more through a nonprofit, so I decided to start an oil company. It's really kind of sad. They're not. I know. I recognize these names and I'm like,
must be. Yeah.
It'd be hard having all that money and not knowing what to do with it. It's even harder when you can't spend that money on lunch, Jeff. It's really hard. We've chosen to locate in downtown Denver.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the vibrancy, diversity, abundance of amenities, proximity to transit. How many of you reckon take the RTD? You want to get, how many get on a bus? I bet you none. Yeah. Anyway, that's just an overall quality of work life that it is offered to our employees. We're asking you today about significant concerns that we have for our city from a safety and security standpoint. Over the past few months, downtown has taken a turn in the wrong direction, and during a time when it is already challenging to ensure employees feel safe returning to the office, it is having a real impact on our ability to continue to do business in person downtown. Numerous employees have reported that they feel unsafe walking to lunch, walking alone in parking structures, and participating in the downtown retail experience that is so critical to our state's economic recovery. How is that for some pretty sounding bullshit, by the way?
Who wrote this? Can you say the name of the company?
Oh, it's not a company. It's a coalition of the largest Denver-based oil and natural gas companies. Which means...
Okay. So it's several companies?
Had all their CEOs write this letter together asking for increased police presence in the downtown area that would be critical to them being able to stay downtown.
So I mean, doesn't that make perfect sense? Oil tycoons.
Oil tycoons. Not even tycoons. Maybe their daddies were tycoons, or they've inherited all this money. And so they've started a Denver-based oil and gas company, single play, just saying they're not that big. But they're trying to throw their weight around using these words as though they're Exxon. The people they employ probably have the crappiest health insurance around. They probably cannot afford to actually eat in the downtown area.
Yeah.
These aren't great jobs. These aren't huge employers. But this type of nonsense is going to be used for Hancock to turn around and say, well, we can't furlough police. We'll lose business downtown. And the $16 million we committed to make 16th Street Mall look pretty. Some shit like that. So this is what we're up against. They're just going to hold up the story with no context for who the signers are or who these companies are, because it doesn't matter. No one's heard of them. And it's like, oh, the threat of losing business is enough to justify the continued killing of Black people. But as long as we bring a Black person on to sing and rap at the beginning of city council meetings, we can pretend that we're doing enough. I don't know. That just seems gross to me. But I'm not Black.
Yeah.
Sure as who the whole lot of you. They can kiss my ass.
They can kiss my butt. Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely understand the sentiment, and I definitely understand where Carrie Joy is coming from. I definitely understand what's at play, the theater that is at play when they put somebody like Bella Scratch at the beginning of the thing to show, look, see how diversity we are. Denver, just as you said, Denver is very segregated. Denver has always liked to put its so-called performative diversity on display. I mean, that is what Mayor Pena was. That is what Wellington Webb was. That is what Mayor Hancock is. That's what Penfield Tate was. That's what Landry Taylor was. That's what Albus Brooks was. You know, they love to put them on display and say, look at who we have, the Blacks that we have. So that's been something that is just as a part of what happens in Denver. But I do understand Carrie Joy's sentiment is that basically white folks can kiss her Black ass, and that is where the majority of Black folks are. When you look at
and this one person too. Fuck 'em all.
And if you look at the ratio of Black people to white people in America, it's 5 to 1. It's 4.5, or in other words, 5 to 1. So you have the gated community, the rural community, and the suburban community, where you know there is very little representation there. Therefore, these people are never going to be in relationship to you. Then you have the folks that are on the periphery. That is the ally. That is the person with a theoretical and a emotional understanding of what freedom really looks like, and the injustice that is being done. That is the person that can see that. But Then you have one white person who is in proximity. That's that one white person out of that 5 is the only one where the relationship is consequential. So until there is more relationships that are consequential, then nothing will change. That the truth is in the relationship. The power is in the relationship. And that's where real change is happening. You working in tandem with Carrie Joy is not you kissing her black ass. That's your life, and her life is now consequential. That her using your platform and you using her platform, you have a strategic, authentic, reciprocal relationship. So those are the things that have to happen in order to bridge these gaps, in order to for economic inequality and the wealth gap and the disproportionate number of Black folks living in poverty through the structures, institutions, and systems that are put in place that maintain white supremacy. You know, until those more of those happen, nothing will change. So that's what we've been working on with From Allies to Abolitionists through the Underground Railroad Culture course. And, you know, those are the programs we're working on, and, you know, telling white folks to step up under Black leadership. That's a consequential relationship. And that's what we're doing. So a lot of people want to write off white folks in the movement. And I understand why, and I understand what's going on, especially because you have folks who, you know, they're white saviors. They want to come in and lead a racial justice movement, and that they have all the answers and all the ideas, and they want to boss everybody around and reinforce white supremacy. I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, come on, like, you know, to be quite frank, Joe Biden is responsible for a lot of the disparities among Black folks, but yet we have someone so horrible. We have someone so horrible that'll make you accept a Joe Biden hook, line, and sinker. You know, without thinking twice. It's like, God damn, anything is better than this. Like, damn, we can all be dead in any minute. Is how it feels. It'll make you accept a Joe Biden without even batting an eye. And so, you know, so there's a whole lot of work to go. Those magicians with that illusion, Carrie. It's the illusion that people play around. That's how the white saviors pop up, through the illusion. That's how white saviors, Black saviors, okay, that's that liaison, that go between. I've got this. Step back, Negroes. I've got it. That's that guy, the Black savior. Okay,
the magical Negro.
Yeah, who comes as a gatekeeper. He comes as a gatekeeper, saying that I've got them at bay. And then there's also the token. The token is in that same illusion, and it's all in the same illusion of race is a social construct, and it's about class, not race. When they say that, they use that to create an illusion. Race is a social construct. That's very, very true. And it was constructed for the purpose of creating a second class. So you cannot separate race from class. It can't be separated. It is a social, you're right. There's less than 3% of our DNA that determines hair texture and pigmentation. You're absolutely right. It's a social construct. You're absolutely right. Those were pseudosciences. You're absolutely right. Eugenics was bullshit. Phrenology was bullshit. Drapetomania was bullshit. You're absolutely right. However, that social construct was created, the structure, the institutions that taught it, that reinforced it, and the systems, the economic systems that came out of it that made people benefactors of it are very real. Those are very real. And it was used just to create a second-class citizenship. The poor white boy next to me would say to me that he would, that I was less than him. And even if my pockets were fat and he was, eating out of the garbage can, he would still see himself as higher than me. That was the purpose of all of that. And so it's an illusion, and people can minimize, race and stay in that level of illusion. But until we recognize that, hey, if we truly are all one, one mind, one body, one soul, one people, one fight, one whole, until we are that, then none of it will change. Sorry.
Don't be. That's what I wanted. I turned off city council because I didn't want to hear the bullshit. I wanted to hear the truth. Right? They weren't saying anything that mattered. And by the way, Carrie, since I know you're listening, I would love you to know that it is an honor to kiss your ass. It truly is. Anytime on my Twitter these past 48 hours, you would see exactly how much I do love some ass, which is why the hashtag asses for MK started becoming a thing. So
where are you from, MK? You got a little, where are you from?
I'm from a town called Difficult in rural Tennessee.
Okay, you're from Tennessee. My parents have retired in Memphis.
Bless them. They get to see the ducks.
Yeah.
So,
they're southern folks. My family's from, Alabama,
What part?
Decatur, Alabama. It's northern Alabama. It's by Huntsville. Yeah.
By NASA.
Yeah, by NASA. So that's where my family's from. We came out here and I was like 4 years old. I'm 50 now, but I was like 4 years old when we came out here. My father was an engineer and, he worked for IBM and graduated from Alabama A&M University. So that's how I got to Colorado. They got asses for MK.
Yeah.
They got asses for MK?
They got asses for MK. If you go on my Twitter timeline, it is nothing but naked booties. I got retweeted by, I know, right? It's amazing. I can get people to.
What's your Twitter?
I really can. I got retweeted by this Canadian QAnon army person who was like, someone needs to call the FBI about this woman. And I was like, bitch, you think they don't already sit outside my house and I don't know this? I acknowledge them and say hi to them in every interview. I did a whole live stream about anal beads because I knew they were listening and I wanted to make it worth their while because I'm magnanimous, Mr. Jeff. Magnanimous.
Wow.
That's how I can't bring you lemonade and bring you anal bead conversation. Make you hate your job as much as I hate your job. So to that, I tell my protest kids all the time, I talk about OPSEC and the need to keep your ass covered. And they were like, you act like our asses are uncovered. I'm like, well, can you prove to me that they aren't? I'm like, well, and that dovetailed nicely with the QAnon folks. So I've got all these lovely people coming to my website and coming to my Twitter feed trying to say nasty things, and they get greeted by booties. Because leftist booty is the best booty.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I know what you're going to be doing later tonight. There you go.
Asses on the Twitter feed. That's a good strategy. I thought I was doing good with the t-shirts, but damn. I got to step my game up. I got to think outside the box.
I don't know where the box is, Jeff. That's why I think Carrie and Candy tolerate me. Like, we don't know what she's going to want to do.
That's my problem. That's my problem. I don't think outside the box.
Well, that's because you breaking rules has different consequences for you. Yeah. Than it does for me. And I'm like, if you all don't like what I do with my privilege, you should really take it away from me. That's my attitude.
Yeah. The rejection of the privilege. That's just a powerful move right there. that's crossing that line. That's becoming a relationship of consequence. I'm not different, better. These people deserve the same rights that I deserve. And I'm clearly pointing out that it's not the same thing. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful that your mind and your movement is about, shifting this paradigm. I can definitely appreciate that. And, if you need a couple of asses to shift it, so be it.
Oh my God. Please put yours on my Twitter timeline, please.
My ass?
Yes.
Oh.
Ass is wow. Just saying. When's the last time you took a picture of your ass?
Yeah. Never a clock.
See, I think there's a strong argument to be made for asses. It's like if you sent someone a picture of, say, the front, that would be problematic. Asses are gorgeous, and they're not explicitly sexual to all people all the time. It is entirely possible to take a photo because it's so awkward trying to think about the angle. If you just for a second, like envision the angle you have to get it to get a shot of it. They're all, it's amazing. So that, I love a good ass shot. Carrie says you have to do it, Jeff.
Yeah, stranger danger. This is the danger zone for me. I'm not really, I'm less of an ass photo guy. And why did I send an email? I'll send an email to my city council first. That's what I'll.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'll.
That is just as good as an ass photo, and a little bit more useful.
Right. Not that not that I don't like to see ass. I do think, asses are nice. Just my ass. That's what I don't want. I don't want anybody to see.
I tell you what, my favorite, I got a couple grannies who posted their ass on Twitter. I know, right? And one of them is going into hospice tomorrow, and she was like, why not? Click. And it's glorious. She was wearing a thong. She's like, if this is the last photo taken outside of hospice, might as well be here. I'm like, okay. Yay.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Pictures tell every story, but an ass is a whole chapter.
Do you know Rebecca Henderson too? Yeah.
The name rings a bell.
Okay.
Trying to remember.
You guys were.
Is she like ass too?
Oh man, does she?
I love it. I'm like, if she doesn't, that is going to be hard to explain to her how we segued from ass photos to Rebecca Henderson.
Right. Speaking of asses. You ever do any acting, any theater? You ever run it? Yep. She did the film. Rebecca Henderson is the woman who wrote, produced, and directed the film Running with My Girls, which has Candy.
On Twitter, we follow each other. Yes. I donated to her Kickstarter too. Yes. Okay,
good. Thank you very much for that donation. But yeah, Rebecca is a talented up and coming filmmaker. Running with My Girls with Candy Sidibaka, with Lisa Calderon, Chantel Lewis.
They're in there?
Leslie Harrod.
I didn't know. All my favorite people.
Yeah, it's all your favorite people. They're in the film. She's just trying to get this thing finished with the editing. Editing is so expensive. It's like $1,000 an hour. It's expensive. Yeah, it's really expensive. And she's just trying to get it tightened up and out there. So we got to do, it's definitely worth our while to do advocacy for folks that are most vulnerable. It is the heart and soul of our work. But yet and still, also, we have to uplift the entrepreneurs of our communities, because Black entrepreneurship is Black investment, and Black investment can be Black employment. And when Black employment, is there, then that's Black empowerment. So these things are, I know some folks, especially on the left, when you talk about economics and you talk about dollars and money and making things work within this system, I do understand how you feel about this system. However, the current system in place,
yes,
we should not be rejecting it. We should be mastering it. We should be mastering it so that we can transform it. Abolition doesn't necessarily mean tear everything apart, blow it up, and then, dig through the rubble and build something new. It can mean getting in the dialogue, getting engaged, becoming a part of it, and then therefore seeing how, slight adjustments, because there's really just slight adjustments to transform what we have into a more equitable, a more inclusive society that everyone can be, protected, and we can level the playing field. So there are pieces to the puzzle that can work,
Mm-hmm.
So. And
anyone who doubts it needs to go to Ice Cream Riot. It is a Black-owned ice cream shop, and it is fucking spectacular. I think I've had dinner there 3 times this week. And no, they don't serve anything better than ice cream. And damn right, I said it. I love being a grown-up. I had milkshakes for dinner, and it was spectacular.
Milkshakes for dinner.
Yes.
You might kind of, yeah.
Have you been?
I haven't been, but maybe when this apocalypse is over and the Civil War, maybe me and you would go grab some milkshakes for dinner. Yeah, why not?
Why not? That's what it's
all
about.
Do they have adult milkshakes?
They only have adult milkshakes.
Oh, yeah, we're there. We're
or
there.
You can be super classy like me, because I like to tweak mine myself. So, and by super classy, I mean I put it in a Camelback, wear it in, take the milkshake out, go sit on the Capitol, watch the sunset, and have the Camelback in one side of my mouth and the ice cream in the other. And I do the walrus.
That's extreme. Maybe I'll just have 1 or 2 tops, but not the.
I can't. The full experience in our first outing, Jeff.
Yeah, I might have to take it a little slower than that, because Jeffrey gets awfully silly after a couple of adult beverages.
But that would be when we get the ass better, right?
Yeah, you might get the ass photo after all. After a few adult milkshakes, you just might get the ass photo. Yeah, It might pop up.
We're gonna find some way to hold you to that. Carrie Joy.
I don't know. Yeah, Carrie Joy is such a talented poet, such a talented writer and performer, and so we've got to do what we want. What we can to support the artist community, because the artist community, winds up the most vulnerable in this projected recovery that they're talking about is about an 80-20 market recovery, meaning 20% of what was once there just won't be there anymore. And it's going to be the creatives and the service industry folks, the folks in the venues, in the performance art venues, who are going to get hit really hard for a very long time until we figure out, if we figure out, the world as we'd like to see it return to, or at least some semblance of it return to, where artists could perform and earn a living with their craft, teaching their craft, performing their craft, creating their craft. So, we definitely have to find ways, innovative ways, new ideas, new structures, new institutions, new systems that can support the arts in new ways. that is the core of abolition, is new possibilities. You know, what can be done. So
I love it.
I love it too.
I love that we now have like a name and a movement, because when I learned about abolition, I guess I was about, the first time I really started hearing it in the vernacular. There weren't a lot of white people welcome in those spaces doing that work, which is not a complaint, just more an observation. It wasn't formalized academic study when that, or at least one that was outside of like the Black Studies departments, who can, didn't want to let me, they don't want me, and I ruined it for everybody. So I say that to be like, it is such a beautiful thing now to have watched it go from a notion to a fully fledged, like, to be able to say, like, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I hear ally, I think fucking liberal. And to be like, I am here, I am an abolitionist. And that is my, and that is it. That is everything right there in one word. When did you start to identify with that word? When did it become something really not just meaningful to you, but an identifier? It only became an identifier to me, that one that would be recognized maybe this year, but looking back, I've been one my whole life. Right. Well, yeah, it's just really the difference between non-racist versus anti-racist, right? So that you're actually working to disrupt and actually get in the way of the injustice. As far as when I started to identify, see, I don't even identify myself as an activist, period. I really wasn't doing grassroots movement work prior to COVID. I was in a production, and before that I was doing construction work. I was working with my hands. As a trade, I was custom building closets and pantries and master bedroom stuff. I was doing that. So I wasn't really doing the activism stuff, grassroots organizing stuff anymore. I did it for years for Metropolitan Organizations for People. I did it for years for the Colorado Progressive Coalition with Bill Vandenberg and So-Yoon Park back in the day. And then my own organization that I started in 97, the Colorado Hip Hop Coalition, where we did direct service provider. We did after school programs for youth and DPS around DJing, breakdancing, and graffiti art and MCing. We did that back in 97. And so that was like, where my background in grassroots organizing. That's where I had the office at Brother Jeff's building, and was really working under his guidance on how I navigate that world. And so this year, the folks from the Justice for Rivero campaign approached me and asked me to join the arts committee, and I was going to write a poem. And then they asked me to chair the committee, and I really didn't want to. And they kind of left me with no choice, because there was so much that needed to be done that wasn't getting done, and nobody had the experience to do it. When we picked up the petition, there were 12 signatures on the petition, and he just wasn't getting any shine. And so they asked me to chair so that I could get things going. So we wrote the script for a public service announcement and called a good friend of mine, 20 years long, Erin Preston, and she has a video production company. And so she created a public service announcement around the script I wrote, and we asked for volunteers to speak to that. We attached it to the petition. We rewrote the petition to make it more succinct. And then we launched the campaign July 4th of this year, From Allies to Abolitionists. And I really, just like from boys to men, we just wanted to take folks from that passive support to direct involvement on disrupting oppressive systems. And really kind of learned as we went. Just like I didn't really have an idea, but folks needed something to happen. And it was right on the heels of what happened with George Floyd. And people were, and also white folks were coming to me, Jeff, you're the only Black person we know. What do we do? Good God. They were doing that to me.
And I saw this as an opportunity to match these volunteer folks that are new to activism with boots on the ground, veteran frontline movement work folks, and help facilitate the growth of their volunteer base, facilitate the growth of their movement, facilitate the growth of the awareness and support. And so that's how the Justice for Rivero campaign and Emancipation Theater, connected as From Allies to Abolitionists. And that was our pilot program. That was the first time that I started to publicly identify myself as that. Now, again, like you're out there amplifying the voice of the movement. I still see myself as a storyteller, and our campaign was a 90-day campaign to tell the story of Rivero Stinnett. And then after we told the story over 90 days, we did a production called I Am Rivero, which now is a film that will live forever, and we'll do screenings, and we'll go wherever we can. We'll go from venue to venue, from school to school, from organization to organization. We're going to the Museum of Contemporary Art later this month to do screenings and to do talkbacks, to continue to tell his story and tell the story of Chantel Lewis and her struggle at RTD, and tell the story of the egregious, violent, company, Allied Universal Security Services.
Absolutely. Can we go tell that story at City Council too? Because I'm going to show you these are some
Absolutely.
of No JP headlines, banners that I've used during City Council meetings. Here's my favorite.
There you go.
That was when Cashman told Candy to raise her hand next time you have a question. And I'm like, that's some fuck shit. That was when they were trying to explain to us what we're asking for. Like, I know you guys want us to push back on the bargaining agreement, but I don't think you understand. We have to accept it. We don't have this option.
Yeah.
Another good one. That was the pickleball court night. That was a great night.
Yeah.
This is what they say basically every city council meeting. And I put that up. I'm like, are we going to hear from anything other than a developer? What is affordable? Could someone do some math? Would you like some help with that? What's affordable? 80% AUM, whatever.
They invite developers in there to speak?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well.
All the time.
Well,
this is another beloved one there. This is how I think Denver City Council is committed to approaching the budgetary shortfall.
Right.
We kill enough people, but not Black people specifically.
Right.
There will be no entitlements. Yay. Some shit like that. So yeah, this is Denver's bootlicking budget is racist and ableist. This is why every week I can't get through Monday nights alone, and it's not that I ask, need Black people here to support me, but rather like I cannot be the only one saying this shit. Yay. So thank you for coming and saying some of this shit with me and saying better shit than we would be hearing right now if we'd left that city council meeting running. God bless Carrie Joy for having to listen to all of it. She married it.
Yeah.
I thought marrying me was a pain in the ass. She married city council. And she knew it. Like Candy had just said that I'm going to start running when they went on their first date.
That's when they started dating, really?
That is love, right? That is devotion. I told my husband, I don't think you don't really want to run for office ever, right? Because let me just burst that bubble and set it aside.
Yeah. I'm super disappointed that the oil and gas folks don't feel safe downtown, really.
I mean, it's so awful. All of these developers have been coming to city council promising pedestrian-friendly passages.
Yeah.
Corridors. But it's worthless if people are afraid to walk them. I've been calling that out to you. Every time I hear that phrase, pedestrian-friendly corridors, as it goes up. I must put that one off.
So protest, Mom.
It's coded language. It's racist. It means that we're gonna gentrify, push out the Black people, literally build the doorways as such that the unhoused couldn't sleep there for shelter or warmth at night, make it unfriendly to them. And finally, ensure that we'll have enough money here that there'll be private guards as well as police.
Right.
That is all of that is baked into one very loaded phrase. And I'm committed to breaking that apart every time I hear it. I want to beat them in the face with it. Not Candy, but all the others. Like, it's just some shit. It's some shit. I'm real sorry that how many police does it take before they are comfortable walking to the Pinkberry?
Yeah.
Since they can't afford real lunch, I know who they work for at these companies.
So, Protest Mom, when did you start the Denver chapter of the Wall of Moms? And, what are you guys, what are you guys like working towards specifically? And how can we, from allies to abolitionists, be in support of you and your mission?
Well, the question really is, what can we do for you? When Wall of Moms Portland became a thing, it was kind of an overnight sensation. And the other two co-organizers, one got the Facebook page and one started the Twitter account. And then I saw that this was happening and was like, I jumped in the name of harm reduction because I've been through this before. My dad was a civil rights attorney. But when people would ask, white people would ask what my dad did for a living, he would say civil rights law. When anybody else asked what he did for a living, it was police brutality, excessive force. He was known as one of the only attorneys in the state of Tennessee who would take cases that involved suing cops. Because you're from a small town, you sue a cop, you basically sued their whole family. Good luck trying to, go to the grocery store even, or your life's over. So we basically had no life. I'm used to having no friends. It's 42 years. It's not weird. But I've been in these places before where white people are excited to join, and we ruin everything. Not gonna lie. I know this, we do. So I saw this moment in time being very different, because I remember in 2017 when the bail funds started appearing, and the National Black Bailout Day for Mother's Day, and then the National Black Bailout Day for Father's Day, and being so excited because I've been looking for things like this for years. But cash bail at the time, it wasn't really at the forefront of any conversations. But for already a decade, those of us who did not yet call ourselves abolitionists felt passionately like this is, if this could happen, then this would be a big step forward to doing other things like eliminating cash bail. It's happened in 2 states. We eliminated qualified immunity here. So 2017 was the turning point where all of a sudden people were talking about cash bail, and I was like, oh yay, what's going to happen next? But I remember watching white people sort of swarm in and hijack and think like, And so very, very kindly, the 2 women were like, yes, we've been watching you and your live streams for the past month, because by that point I had testified in front of the Senate. Were on behalf of SB 2217. I had shown up in all kinds of places, just being me. And more importantly to me, trying to make the revolution accessible to white people, because it has never ceased to amaze me how big that gap is. Like, we'd be protesting a homeless sweep at Maury Middle School, and parents of students there would have no idea what the objection was. I was getting phone calls from friends of mine, people I love dearly. You can't seriously think this is okay, MK. Why are you there? Answer me this. I've said nothing, but I need to know. Are you really calling me a bad person? And I'm like, I want you to think this out. If they get swept, where are they going to go? You live 2 blocks south.
Wow.
Come for a walk with me at night in my neighborhood. Let's see how many unhoused are sleeping in the alleyways behind cars, and how that number goes up in the aftermath of the sweeps. I understand what we're actually protesting for are solutions instead of the continual sweeps that put the rest of us at risk. And maybe that's not the nicest way to put it, but that sure got their attention. Like, oh, these parents had never had it put to them that way. And that's when I realized this movement is going to need a little bit more like the Obama anger translator, or just some sort of communication flow moving forward, and committed myself to being that for all the white people around who would. And what's hard is like that we know we're supposed to ask Black leaders. So unfortunately that's gone too far. I want to hear it from a Black person, MK. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah, there's just a lot of confusion.
It's a lot.
There's just a lot of confusion,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, but you know, there was a lot of lies and mischief that was spread amongst the people in order to maintain the confusion.
Yes.
And yes, it is true. Just in the same way as I should never be leading a conversation or a dialogue on toxic masculinity without, women guiding it. Like often I will see on social media a man post what toxic masculinity is and what it is not and blah, blah, blah. And to me, it just really, it rings of the same sort of cognitive dissonance of a white person telling me what racism is and what is not, and what is a proper way to protest and how not to protest, and when DEI works well and when it doesn't work well, when you should be quiet and actually listen to somebody who is experiencing it, that we're not these hopeless, helpless victims. It comes from the myth of white benevolence that these poor, ignorant, pathetic souls, if I come and save you,
I'm going to show you the right way to do it, and then your life will be better because you just don't know. Yeah, I get it.
Right. Like it's so easy to fall into that trap, but that's a myth that keeps us bound to that denial, to that cognitive dissonance, to that hypocrisy. It keeps us bound to that. And so, and there's not to say that there aren't plenty of Black folks who believe in Black inferiority that do the exact same thing. Or the polarization, or we put these white folks on a pedestal. There's plenty of Black people who put white folks on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? And so they are a part of, this whole continuum of moving us out of this mindset that justifies the dehumanization of one group of people over another. It's it can be done. It's really not that. It can be done. It can be done.
Agreed.
And we just have to stay vigilant. So, I'm really grateful to just chat with you.
I'm grateful to chat with you. I am. I'm grateful that you came here. I'm grateful that clearly you had more to say than you thought you did, or would have presumed you did when we got started. And so you're a storyteller. I like drawing stories out of people. And you've got one hell of a story, Jeff.
Well, thank you. Let's continue to collaborate and work together. Let's see what Wall of Moms and From Allies to Abolitionists, how we can cross-pollinate, cross-train, cross-build, cross-think, cross-share, anything that we can do to work in tandem to strengthen the movement, to make the movement more palpable, more effective for everyone.
Same.
Okay.
Because remember, we're not organizers. We are we're foot soldiers. So when you say here's the event that we're planning, that's where we step in and say, would you like marshals? Would you like we've got communication experts that'll be on the ground. Would you like digital security, finger quotes, community defense, protest medics? What you want? We got about 850 members right now. Let us know, and what we can all, if nothing else, we can amplify. We can buy tickets. We can event. Like we're moms. We'll bring snacks. We've always got snacks in our purses. So with that in, and I say that because I'm looking forward to the day when no one asks me for another motherfucking snack like that. Mom, I need snacks. Like, just go back to school. God, anyway, I hate that word. But I say that to be like that. We don't. We when you just tell us when and where to show up, that's how it works. It's there's no need to collaborate. You instruct, we arrive.
Okay. I mean, that's everybody in their separate sectors knowing what they do, doing what they do best. That's really what it's going to take. I love it. So let's just stay in communication. let's just stay in communication and let's get going.
Sounds good. I'm going
All
to
right.
get going and eat the bejesus out of some ice cream since the stinking vote isn't happening tonight. And I would rather, look at the assholes on my timeline than listen to those in city council tonight. So I'm going to go
Right.
do that. And I hope
Okay.
you have as much fun as I do.
I will. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you real soon.
Sounds great, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Yep, you bet. Bye.
So that was Jeff Campbell of Allies to Abolitionists, and they are putting on a big show about Rivero Stinnett. So here's something I meant to do at the beginning of the hour, and I didn't get all my hair is dry in time to do this. But I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit more about that hashtag Asses for MK. The origin of it was a friend trying to be supportive to me. In a moment, because Friday was a really bad day, you guys. I'm on the board of an organization, a nonprofit that is in crisis and has been in crisis for a long time. And we're getting ready to do things that I don't love doing. And by that, I mean, I'm going to have to walk in there and flex. And I don't love that, but I'm not going to hesitate to do it either when something I'm passionate about is threatened. I'm a 2-time survivor of sexual assault. And after the second, and both encounters were incredibly violent. Neither of the perpetrators were ever charged with crime. And as far as I know, no investigation was ever even conducted. So I'm committed to educating to prevention, specifically on college campuses where students might not understand that the security guard they call is not the same as calling the police. And that reporting, by the way, is the first experience a lot of white people will ever have in giving insight to how broken this system is and how it only works for a certain few. Survivors of sexual assault, child abuse, molestation, and rape, we all know way too well that the system doesn't really care about us, that can often be something as egregious as child abuse can be wiped away as a custody issue if it's a biological parent perpetuating the abuse. So I tell you that to tell you this. After my second assault, where the perpetrator looked me in the eye and said, "No one's going to believe that it wasn't your fault that this happened twice," because this is a person I had been confiding in about the first. I was tore up from the floor up. And that's a kind way of saying that I was an absolute disaster. I stopped wearing clothes that fit. I intentionally stayed no less than 10 pounds overweight at all times. I stopped wearing makeup, didn't dry my hair, never wore jewelry. I started chain smoking. Why? Because it's repulsive. I wanted to make sure that if it ever happened again, I wanted to remove the idea of sex and sexuality and that part of me that makes me human, not just from that conversation, but all conversations. I looked forward to getting old. We've heard the jokes in recent years about like our last fuckable day. I couldn't wait for mine to come because then maybe I could just be a person and not a sex toy in someone's mind. And I wasted my 20s. I wasted my 20s when I was at probably the strongest, definitely the best, hiding, not just from myself, but from the world, trying to protect myself from a crime that wasn't my fault. It took about 18 months of therapy before I was comfortable wearing clothes that fit. Drying my hair, like going to efforts to style my hair, as silly as that might sound, I only really became comfortable doing that in 2017. So me participating in Asses for MK, the hashtag someone else started, me putting my own bare naked ass on my Twitter timeline and saying, "That's mine. You know what? It looks good. I really do think asses are my favorite body part. They're amazing. They aren't specifically sexual, but there's something just kind of forbidden about it. A bare ass, whether it's a baby running around without a diaper on or a baby running around with only a diaper on, there's something, or to an adult just being like, oopsie, and you can see a butt crack. There's just something really fascinating to asses about to me that is not triggering. Then I understand that might not be the case for everyone. So when I started and also I'm new to Twitter relatively. I only really started using it in July of this year, as several people have accused and correctly so. So you can't like on one hand be like, she's new here and then forget that I'm new here. I make mistakes. I did not understand that retweeting to highlight a subtweet was a violation of consent. It's not something I ever would have done willingly or knowingly, but it doesn't matter. The harm is done. And for that, I apologize. I was very proud of not just, that felt like a completion of not only my own personal journey, which is not something Josie knew when she started the hashtag, but to be in a place where I can be like, that is my body. This is something I wouldn't have worn thongs. I wouldn't have worn pretty underwear. I wouldn't have done, there's so much I wouldn't have done, because if I had, then I could have been accused of attracting the attention that I could have been accused and would have believed it of being responsible for my own rape. So I do apologize to those who were hurt. I should have put a trigger warning or a content warning, since it is so outside of the norm for what I normally post on Twitter. And I definitely understand how that would be harmful to victims. And for that, I'm really and truly sorry. You can't do better till you know better. And I learned some really hard lessons today. I'm not telling you my story to excuse it, but rather for you to understand that I'm still trying to reconcile that this moment of triumph for me was so deeply connected to your pain in a way, or a reliving of your trauma in a way that was completely unnecessary. I was only thinking of me in that moment, and I'm going to try to do better. So there you go. I'm a mom. I'm a protest mom. I'm used to putting everyone else first. And in those moments, I do need to be checked. I would like to thank everyone who gave me feedback and everyone who did check me, especially those who did so kindly, because I've not been advertising them all, but y'all, I've taken some really hard hits in the past 4 days, and I'm going to take a lot more before the end of this week. I'm dreading this week, to be honest with you. So the more we can promote, as funny enough, anarchists historically have been terrific about doing, gentle, kind corrections behind the scenes to actually kind of get the outcomes we want, the better, because I know I'm not the only one who's kind of fragile right now. And I, as I've said over and over, have all the privilege in the world. If it's hard for me, imagine how much worse it is for everybody else all the way down the chain. Please go thank an organizer today. Thank you, Jeff Campbell, for being here with me. Thank you for Carrie Joy for your glorious commentary. Thank you for everyone who showed up and said something for public input. You're coached. You're loved. Fuck City Council tonight, y'all. But I will be around the rest of this week. I will probably be streaming the committee on safety and housing, or as I like to call it, the committee on killing Black people and the unhoused. And if nothing else, know that y'all here have Denver protest news later this week too, because there's a lot coming down the pike. Have a good week, y'all. I'm going to go have some ice cream for dinner.